What's going on, guys? One sec. Thank you, Skulltaker. Anyways, we're running back with another replay. We've got Khorne over here, obviously. I mean, who else would Skulltaker be repping, right? Literally can't bring him on any other roster. Against High Elves, you know, you got Frostheart Phoenix here, you got Altharion the Grim, one White Lion of Trace, you've got Sisters of Avalorn here, backed up by some Rangers and a Spearman, and a really early triple cap. I honestly don't hate the aggression here from Scope getting up on these points. You do need to be a little careful of this against Khorne as the High Elves. The Blood God has a fairly favorable matchup against the High Elves, and I would say that one of the big reasons why is just like really easy counters to stuff like Rangers. Rangers are one of the few cost-effective melee infantry that the High Elves are able to bring on a semi-regular basis and have real success with, so you've got stuff like Chaos Warriors that just beat the absolute living hell out of them. Even basic Marauders do pretty well into Rangers, because Rangers are 600 gold as opposed to 400 on the Marauders end, and Rangers just have so much less HP. They've got a little less armor, which doesn't really matter that much because the Phys Res that Rangers get, but the Khorne Marauders just have really good melee attack. They're actually able to get around that 36 melee defense that the Rangers have. Rangers tend to be a little bit better into like lightly armored factions, where the Rangers' melee defense actually ends up being really damn strong, because they end up outstatting the other like anti-infantry like combatants that they might end up fighting. Like Gore Herd, they trade pretty well into. It's a fairly even fight, but the Phys Res usually ends up favoring the Rangers, as well as the high leadership. So those are the real value trade opportunities for stuff like the Rangers. Against Khorne, it's pretty tough for them, but they can still do really well into stuff like Khorne Gores, and Khorne Gores can be like a centerpiece of the Khorne roster in this matchup at times. Just because Kite is so deadly to you, and it's nice to have answers for Altharion and the Frostheart. Stuff like that. Single entities for the High Elves tend to be pretty powerful in this matchup. Skulltaker moving in. Chaos Warriors, they're looking to grapple with the White Lions here. They've taken quite a bit of damage from the big flyers, but at the very least they are going to be able to get into combat with a decent amount of HP and take that fight reasonably successfully. A good idea by Scope here, but really needed to get the other Ranger around the back. You don't want to pile too many of your units in the front like that. It's a very inefficient way of taking melee engagements. And Bagosh getting the pressure on here. You've got some Furies flying in overhead, and you get Karanak attacking the Sisters of Avalorn in a really nice summon out of the Fleshhounds here, going right after those War Lions. Beautiful, beautiful choice here by Bagosh. So the Fleshhounds are an excellent counter to the War Lions of Trace in general, and using a summon to do this is even more effective because it's a fairly expensive item, or I guess it's an ability really. Karanak's Howl, it costs about 200 gold. Karanak's already fairly expensive. We haven't really gotten a chance to talk about him. He was hiding off in the trees over here or something, I guess. He comes screaming out and immediately starts making a pretty big difference here. I mean, he ties up those Sisters, allowing the Furies to fly in over the top of him, drops his summon, and gets a lot of damage in on the War Lions here. Kind of surprised that the Fleshhounds haven't actually killed them completely, but 440 value out of this Fleshhound summon. Really brilliant stuff, honestly. I think they're going to crumble out before they get their full time in the battlefield, but almost getting a full Hound's worth of value out of a 200 gold summon is pretty amazing. Wrathmonger's hanging in here, and now Skulltaker and Karanak might be able to bully a lot of the characters, honestly. At the very least, they'll be able to beat up an Altharion, and the Frostheart Phoenix is going to have to also be pretty careful about where it takes engagements, because it's fairly vulnerable to Khorne. Khorne actually is able to negate the magic damage that the Phoenix has. Here it is. I was wondering where it was. It's chasing off the Chaos Chariots over there. And the Phoenix doesn't have too much armor. Khorne's got great weapon strength. A lot of it is base amounts, but at 80 it's mitigating only a fair proportion. And with a good 400 base weapon damage, it'll still be about 200 damage that's slipping through the cracks, plus whatever AP Khorne brings to the table. And look at Eltharion getting clowned on right here by Skulltaker and the Chaos Doggy. 1,000 value each right now. Khorne is a little trapped up in here. Does find a nice avenue to break out of, bulldozing over a couple of those Rangers. And finding the Frostheart Phoenix and gonna be negating that, or actually doesn't have the brass collar. Oh no, no silence. Wow. Kind of rare to see that from somebody. Bringing Khorne without the silence collar is definitely a choice. I think it's always worth it personally, but it does allow you to squeeze in the Howl. And valuing the Howl a little bit higher than the collar, I guess, is paying off here since it actually got some pretty good work done. Chaos Warriors hanging in here. You can see the High Elf front line has buckled pretty badly. Spearmen are all dead. A lot of guys routed back. Lots of dead Rangers. Sisters of Avalorn being taken down. Probably one of the worst things that could be happening here for the High Elves. Not having any AP magic damage for dealing with Skulltaker is definitely a big problem. I mean, he is just so rock solid. Very difficult to handle without killing him from range. Even though he does have the item that makes him a little bit more resilient to ranged damage, it's still the best way of dealing with Skulltaker because the Skull Throne, or the Blood Throne, I should say, is just a wickedly strong mount. I mean, he gets so many buffs. He gets Revel in Slaughter. He gets the Totem stacked together. That's increasing his leadership by plus 12, which makes him damn near unbreakable with essentially a base of 92. That base value of 80 is very deceptive. Add on to that it increases his melee attack by 16, so he's got 61 melee attack at all times with Unyielding Assault. Crazy high weapon strength for a character on a anti-infantry throne as well. Makes him fairly good even in single entity duels. There's just so much to like about him. Plus the heal, man. I mean, the heal is pretty unparalleled on Skulltaker. And Khorne down in the pits here with Skulltaker and the help of these Chaos Warriors. Chaos Warriors are actually fairly efficient at beating down on stuff like Phoenixes. They've got, like, respectable mass and really good damage output, especially when they're with their lords. And getting stuff like the Horn of Khorne here. Plus 24 melee attack, up to 69, and that's with the fact that they're exhausted right now. They're losing a full 20 melee attack, and they're still in here just absolutely grinding it out. Wrathmonger's going down along with the other Chaos Warriors. You know, the High Elves doing a pretty good job of staying fairly even here. Oh, bringing the Fireborn out. Fireborn going to be really devastating here potentially, but some Minotaurs rocketing forward. 187 kills. What the hell have they been? Oh, the Rangers that were back on the #1 objective, I bet. Yeah, look at all the carnage back here, man. Oh my goodness. You got more Marauders that were fighting out here. I'm willing to bet that the Minos killed a large balance of those units, and that's why they're rocking up in here with the Bloodgreed fully charged. They are very tired already. They're going to be pretty important for dealing with the Fireborn. Well, the Fireborn kind of running up into the Chaos Warriors. Not a very organized charge for them, unfortunately. And they do take a little bit of damage before they're really able to get into combat here. Should be fine, though. Eltharion should have some Apotheosis left. Maybe a Hand of Glory would help these guys out in the Valley Trade game. They're going to be absolutely crucial if the High Elves are going to be winning this game. Mistwalker's Barrage doing really good damage. Such a strong item and ability now. for Eltharion. He's just able to hit that every 30 seconds, and it does wicked damage just about everything. Really not a good fight for the High Elves here. Scope really overpressing onto this bunch of units. This is not an easy formation to break here. This is Minos backed up by Khorne with Khorne and Skulltaker, dragging down individual models of the Fireborn, I'm sure. Khorne has the weapon strength to be able to kill those guys pretty consistently. Plus, he's debuffing their melee defense every time he gets an attack in, thanks to the, where is it? It's Wounded Prey ability. Also lowers their vigor, and they are already tired here. Really brutal. Oh, man. And they get hit by the Bloody Onslaught, and wow, the Fireborn just got melted here. That's gotta be game here, unfortunately, for the High Elves. I don't know if they're going to be able to survive that. Khorne and Skulltaker here have just been brutalizing the High Elves. They have had no answers for these guys. And there have been a couple of other units mixed in here for Khorne that have done pretty exceptional work. The Wrathmongers did really well. Not the Bloodwake Berserkers, just a standard one paying for themselves. These Khorne have gotten some good work done. That one Chaos Warrior, this one out here, 1,200 value on them. Beautiful performance from a heavy infantry unit, and typically units like this can struggle against factions like the High Elves, because even though looks like Eltharion gets killed by the, yeah, Pray the Blood God took him out of the sky, it looks like. Khorne and our boy Skulltaker yucking it up over the victory that they gained here. But anyways, the Chaos Warriors typically can struggle into the High Elves because High Elves do actually have some pretty good AP infantry in this matchup. White Lions are kind of mediocre, but the Swordmasters of Hoeth actually are pretty crazy. They wreck Chaos Warriors of Khorne. Add on to the top of that High Elves very often go for very kite-heavy builds into Khorne. And oftentimes they just get run around and they never actually get to engage in combat. And you're kind of seeing here why exactly it is that High Elves need to go for that playstyle, because if you play honestly into Khorne and they've got Chaos Warriors and you're trying to grind those guys down in melee combat, they will wreck your biz, dude. They have absolutely every advantage over the High Elves, truth be told. They've got crazy high armor with a silver shield, good leadership, great offensive stats, so they can grind through stuff like Spearmen with little to no problem, also beat stuff like White Lions. They just don't get outstatted by the High Elves like a lot of other Chaos Warriors do. That's the big difference for the Chaos Warriors of Khorne. And yeah, the other ones, looks like they didn't do nearly as well, but I would say that, generally speaking, if your Chaos Warriors are holding for as long as these guys were, even if they don't get their value back, they still did a ton of work, because they're a very big roadblock that has to be broken down at some point. And that's been, that obviously was very difficult for Scope. Not being able to do that allowed Khorne and Skulltaker and these Wrathmongers to really get in there and make the big plays in the early game until the Minotaurs and the Khorne could come up and reinforce, and Scope was just gassed by that point. Having to commit the Fireborn into Minotaurs and Khorne is a nightmare scenario. There really wasn't a way around that. Could have saved up for a Lion Chariot, I suppose. But by the time you brought the Fireborn out, you were already on the back foot. It'd be a long time to wait, considering the ticket situation would have been getting very out of hand. The early triple cap was a great idea from Scope, but definitely want to play it a little bit more close to the chest, I think. You're just not nearly as good individually as Khorne is, right? Like, Khorne is the 1v1 par excellence when it comes to the Chaos God factions with their melee units. Khorne units tend to just win out any 1v1 fight. So the High Elves really do need to use mobility to their advantage, and they could have gotten a mobility advantage here, but the constant losses in their front line were just way too hard to replace, and I think that's probably the biggest difference maker here. Plus the fact that Skulltaker and Karanak, like I said, were just causing havoc. I mean, they wrecked poor Eltharion. He's still got 2,400 value, but honestly, a pretty poor performance from him overall. Then the Frostheart Phoenix was just smacked into the Shadow Realm with nary moment wasted on it. So, really fun, quick game. The good doggy here, putting in the work of the Dark Gods alongside its master, Skulltaker here. Love to see it. And without any further ado, I will see you guys on the next one. GG's. Peace. Take care.